Noob School. All right, welcome back to Noob School. John Sterling here. I've got a friend for, I want to say 35 maybe years. 30 years plus?
Make me feel old.
Well, I mean,
Good,
since
a
we're
good
10,
30 for sure.
A good solid 30.
Good 30.
Carl Sobocinski. Carl is a good friend to many in this community, and over a career, several decades of a career, he's built up the nicest restaurants in the city. I think you've got 6 or 7 right now.
Sounds about right.
We got 6, plus you got the oyster bar coming, right?
The oyster bar's coming, and catering and event venues.
And when is the oyster bar, roughly?
January 3rd.
And am I going to get a VIP invite? Because I love oysters.
Of course.
Okay, good. I'll go for the record.
All right.
If I set the record on opening night, I will at least have it for one night. You think 6 dozen?
I think you're going to have to go to 7.
7?
Yeah.
All right. So Carl, for the noob schoolers out there, Carl grew up in New Hampshire. Here we are in South Carolina. Carl grew up in New Hampshire and decided to come to Clemson, as I recall, because A, you had a cousin here, and B, they have a good architecture program. Is that correct?
Most of it, yeah. I wanted to get out of the cold New England winters.
Okay.
And I thought I wanted to be an architect.
Yeah.
So I looked at some schools in the Southeast with architecture programs, and I also wanted to try to play baseball, see if I could play at the Division I level. So we drove onto Clemson's campus, and it felt like home.
Yeah.
I grew up in Durham, New Hampshire, which is a college town, University of New Hampshire.
Okay.
Very similar college feel and look and architecture of the campus buildings. So we just felt right at home, and I ended up coming down here and played a couple of fall seasons on Clemson's baseball team as a catcher behind 3 guys that got drafted.
Wow.
And studied architecture. And then I've done nothing with it except sketch out some restaurant designs.
Yeah. Did you do the initial designs for camp?
I did.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. All of them, I just take the basic floor plan and then start sketching out where each component of the restaurant should be.
Very nice, very nice. So, as I recall, you studied architecture, but while you were in school, maybe the last couple of years, you started working in a Mexican restaurant in Clemson?
I worked at Kiwi Key, the country club. Los Hermanos is where I used to hang out and drink a lot of margaritas.
Okay. Well, I was in the ballpark. So you worked at a higher-end restaurant at Kiwi Key.
That's right.
And there, you got the bug to be in the service business.
Yep.
How did that happen?
I think I learned some of the best lessons right there in the beginning. I had never worked in a restaurant, so I started out bussing tables and worked my way up the front of the house all the way into a management position. But what was cool about working in a club was Rick and Dick Ford owned the real estate there, and they were trying to sell real estate. So they would coach us and teach us in the restaurant that, we were there to try to sell real estate as well. And at first, when a 19, 20-year-old kid hears that, you're like, I don't understand. How am I selling real estate?
Yeah.
But it was about the experience that they would get when they were dining, and what, how we could elevate the feeling that they had in that property and around the lake. And so essentially, I learned at a pretty young age, or at least early on in my career in the restaurant business, that we were selling the entire time.
Interesting. So that's the first official exposure you had to what selling was and what people were trying to do when they sold.
Yeah.
And they were using the restaurant to sell the property.
Yeah, because so folks that were coming in were from the Midwest, from the Northeast, probably similar to me, trying to escape the cold winters. Yeah. And then we had beautiful Lake Kiwi that was very underdeveloped at the time.
Yeah.
One of the only properties that you could buy was at Kiwi Key. And so these folks would tour property all day, and they would probably fall in love with the property, but then start to wonder, well, what do we do when we're here? And if they could come in and have a wonderful dining experience and be made to feel important, and we remembered their names and their favorite things, then it became all part of the package.
That's awesome. And so, how long did you do that?
So I worked there for about 3 years.
Okay. After college too?
After college for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And after college, I went into the back of the house to learn line cook, prep cook. I became a banquet sous chef.
Yeah.
And so I learned. So, I truly can say I've worked in every aspect of the restaurant. And, now to this day, I can identify the pressure points on any given day or night and know where my hands are going to be most useful at whatever part of the night it is.
And how would you know which restaurant to drop by and check on? Do you know like which one's maybe struggling more than another one?
I try to pop into each of them on occasion, but I know that you can never let the foundation that got you there slip, and so I spend the majority of my working nights in Sobeys.
Okay.
Just always go back to where it all began. And then just trusting that each of the other restaurants has a solid team.
Yeah.
And we do more daytime coaching and mentoring with those folks at the other stores.
I got you. Okay. So you stayed on. Were you hatching the 858 plan while you were working there?
So
Did I miss something?
Yeah, no, I think I had completely removed myself from Kiwi Key, and I was actually selling real estate during the day.
Okay.
And then creating the business plan and the model for the 858.
Okay. And so, some of our people will remember the 858, but it was so far ahead of its time. It's so far ahead of its time that if you brought it out now's probably about the right time for it. I mean, it was so cool. You'd enter the first floor and you have to take the elevator up, which kind of added to the drama of the whole thing, that rickety elevator, and then just a bustling second floor, just absolutely bustling. And then like the disco on the third floor, right?
Yeah, up on the top floor, we used to do a Funky Friday.
Funky Friday.
Friday nights. Disco ball, a stage, and warm beer.
Oh, man, that was great. That was great. Yeah, that helped me with my business because all those young sales guys and girls, they just...
Again, it was a way to help sell Greenville, that you had downtown was starting to evolve, and you had more places for people to go and be entertained.
Well, it was great. I mean, Greenville gives you the hot dog king, and look what you give it back in return.
How about that?
Pretty good deal. So that must have been tough. You were mid-20s?
Yeah.
And you started this, it was a big restaurant. I mean, a 3-story building, complicated. How did you pull that off?
I think, like anything else, just sheer determination and belief that, if you don't know how to do something, you ask the right people, figure it out, and when you do make a mistake, don't repeat it.
Yeah.
Learn from it. So there was a lot of hard work and a lot of extra hours that went into getting things done and learning the right ways to do things. But we started out, one of the things that really helped us starting out was we were 2 kids that graduated Clemson and then a chef that was a little bit older that came in from Atlanta. But Todd King, who I teamed up with and did the project with, he owned the building, and his family was established in Greenville, and so they had some good relationships that we relied on, and we learned a lot from their people and their family, and they became the original customers, and they were talking about the place, and so Greenville's business community was coming out and supporting it from day one.
Yeah. Todd King, okay. So you went into business with a family that owned the building and wanted to have that kind of place downtown.
Yeah, I think Todd's initial thought, he bought the building and he turned the 3rd floor into a condo, a downtown condo, and he and his wife lived there. And I just happened to walk through the building with him one day, and I think I got lost on the 2nd floor, and they were up 3rd or 4th floor looking around, and came back to figure out what I was doing. And I said, well, this looks like it used to be a restaurant or something. What was this? And he said it was the old Elks Lodge, and this is where they had their dining room and their kitchen. And, and I said, well, I want to open a restaurant. Can I do it in here?
Yeah.
He said, let's figure it out.
Wow.
So, and then right across the street from them was another mutual friend, Mike Goot, had his ad agency. I think at the time they were called Ice and Goot. And they looked out at that building every day. And when they saw some activity, somebody came across the street and said, "What are you doing? We're going to do a restaurant." "Oh my gosh, we would love to help brand it." So that was how I was introduced to Mike and his company. And they branded that restaurant for us in '93, and it's a company that he's now sold, and it's Brains on Fire, but they've branded everything since.
Yeah. So, okay, let me think about it, because I know 858, was that the dress?
That was remember it was the old Elks Club,
Yeah.
and they were lodge number 858.
Oh, okay. All right. And then Sobeys, obviously, I get that one.
Yeah.
They didn't do Southern Press, did they? That was after Mike.
No, they
did?
Mike was gone, but Brains on Fire,
Okay.
Robin Phillips, and the
Okay.
rest of the team.
Okay. Interesting. Passerelle, that's a good one. That's the French word for bridge.
For footbridge, right? And we're right there. Passerelle's right there at the entranceway to the Liberty
that's
Bridge.
one of my favorites,
Yeah, Michael does a great job there. So that's one of them that we actually have sold
Yeah.
to Michael Manelli, the general manager, and his wife.
I remember talking to you, Carl. You probably don't remember. I'm probably one of your, 200 best friends, but I remember talking to you one day about 15 years ago. I think we just sold our business. And you said, "What's it like, and I might sell my business one day." And we talked about that approach about, instead of like trying to sell the whole thing, it's like finding your key people and doing them when it's appropriate. And I never forget what you said. You said, "Well, if I do sell them, do you think they'll still let me come by and like help out?" I mean, that's when I knew you were like in the perfect job for what you do. You like doing it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I still get up every day and enjoy
Yeah.
going to work, being around the people. Saturday night, I was on the expo line at Sobeys, and I was just telling Michael out there, I love being there. I love just planting my feet there and being there for 4 or 5 hours. And you get a charge out of it by the end of the night.
Right.
Like, how many people do we do?
Yeah.
550. Wow,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah.
You guys did a good job.
That's great. So let's take them through from how long did you have 858?
So I was a part of that for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then, like I said, I learned a ton of lessons there. I learned the business side of things,
Yeah.
the financial side, the marketing side. Not everything, but I learned enough to maybe be dangerous. And it was just time for me to step away and do it a little bit differently. As I mentioned, it was Todd, myself, and a chef, and I learned one of the lessons was partnerships of 2 are easier than partnerships of 3. When I went down to Sobeys, I knew that I didn't know the culinary side, so I teamed up with David Williams, and he was the chef and handled the back of the house, and I ran the front of the house. And if we disagreed, which we did often, like any relationship, we just agreed to disagree, and okay, we'll go your way today,
Yeah.
John, and tomorrow we'll go my way.
Right.
But it was a good partnership, good
Yeah.
relationship, and
Yeah.
we've parlayed it into multiple concepts.
Right.
Few failures,
Yeah.
few lessons learned along the way.
You went from, well, here's one thing on that point. With my old partner, same thing. We would fight about things, like disagree, and we'd both get a little angry about it. We finally got a third party consultant in, to kind of ease it. And I'll never forget talking to this guy, just individually. And he goes, "So when you argue with him, because you have a strong opinion about that." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You think you're right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Are you always right?" And I was like, "Well, no, no. I guess I'm not always right." And that it really helped me to become more flexible after that.
Kind of like marriage counseling,
I guess so.
right?
Not that we've ever seen that before, but
Yeah,
I hear that's what it's like.
allegedly from a friend.
Allegedly, that's right. Okay, so 858 to Sobeys, which is the jewel. That's the one. That's the big one, the main one where you do most of your work now. What's the sequence after that?
So we opened. So some of them aren't there anymore.
Right.
But we opened Sobeys on the side.
Yeah. which I loved.
in 2001.
Do you remember when I thought the maple syrup was olive oil for a while? I was putting it on my sandwich. I was like, this is the sweetest olive oil I've ever had. I was like gaining a pound a day. So anyway, they laughed at me about that for a while.
Oh, my goodness. Gabe Kapler used to come in there when he was managing the Greenville Drive. Went on to still managing in the show now with one of the major league teams. He would bring his own peanut butter. I was like, Gabe, if we have peanut butter. He's like, no, I got to have my peanut butter, but I love your bread and everything else that goes on it.
Yeah.
So it was funny. Yeah, the stories, the olive oil and the maple syrup, that was good. So we did Sobeys on the Side in 2001 and had a good almost 20-year run, but we closed that during the pandemic. Doing breakfast and lunch, that was the one that suffered the most, well, that and catering. But we shut that down, and that is what we're getting ready to open January 3rd, Jones Oyster Company.
Yeah.
So, and that'll be pretty cool that I mentioned Brains on Fire, Greg Ramsey, part of that team. He's also an artist. We found some old pictures of the building from the 30s when it was called the Jones Furniture Company. And so he recreated the Jones Furniture Company sign and painted it on the building. And then we'll just, over the top of furniture, we'll put the Oysters neon sign and
Good.
the Jones Oyster Company.
Can't wait.
Yeah. And then from there, we opened Restaurant O,
Yeah.
which we, again, had a nice run, but we closed that during the financial recession in 08, 09, and just kept it closed. Really just retooled it into what's now the Nosedive, and that is going on 10 years or 11 years.
Yeah.
As that concept, I guess it would be 20 years coming up next year from O and the Nosedive. Lazy Goat
Yeah.
was next, down in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
We just turned 15
Wow.
down there this past summer.
That's one of the best views in Greenville.
It's amazing, that second floor, that ballroom upstairs, and
yeah.
the views of the Peace Center and the Performing Arts and the river. Yeah, it's pretty special. The mayor likes to entertain up there because he can, at lunch or dinner, he can be pointing out all the different things that have happened
It's good.
over the,
Good.
how many years has Knox been? 40, 50? He's been our mayor?
I mean, it's the longest mayor we've had.
I think so. He might be giving Joe Riley a run for his money from down in
I
Charleston.
hope he doesn't leave for a long time.
It's been amazing transition during
Yeah.
his tenure.
He's patient.
Yeah.
He's a patient planner.
So then we did, I'll probably get them out of order, but we did Poppy's Tacos.
Yes.
And Passerelle, the Bistro, and then Gianna. I think Southern Press Juicery before Gianna, then Gianna, and now Camp.
And you have sold Pappy's
Yep.
and Gianna, right?
Yeah, so Poppy's, Gianna, and Passerelle have all been sold to the managers, the chefs, and that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of and probably get the most choked up about is, going back to that conversation that you and I had about when you sell. When you have a restaurant group, or probably any kind of a group in any business that's all unique product lines.
Yeah.
It's a little different and more difficult to sell it
Right.
to somebody than, if you took a Fats Cafe, use them as a local example. They built up 30 Fats and sold it to a big group.
Yeah.
And you can just take that one playbook and replicate it. Well, we have 15 different playbooks. Culture, philosophy, hospitality, those don't change in any of our brands. But each chef has autonomy to do what they want with the menu within the confines of the concept. But yeah, we have a Mediterranean concept, a French bistro, a Southern low country cuisine place. We've got the gastropub, we've got Italian, we've got the plant-based juice bar.
Yeah.
So everything's different. That's difficult for one person or one group to manage. So in looking at a possible exit strategy, I realized, so a couple things happened. I've mentioned this on numerous occasions, but I was very fortunate to be chosen to participate in Liberty Fellowship. So I did that, and then when I was 44, 45, and that was a very reflective time and really gave us the foundation to take a deep look inside and see how we wanted to be involved in community and in our state and what issues and things did we want to be involved in to help promote and further challenges in our state. And then at 50, I'm sure everybody at 30, 40, and 50 has some sort of an inflection point. And at 50, I had, another one of those. And I just started thinking about what is the exit strategy, how fortunate I am to have all these people working in our company, and some of them would like to have the same dream that I had years ago. And people certainly helped me get to where I was. And I want to do what I really like to do with my time these days is things that I consider more impactful. And so chairing the United Way this year and being more involved in some of the issues that are facing our community that are challenging. Coming up with solutions to affordable housing, transportation, some of the challenges. So I like to dedicate some of that time. And so one of the thoughts was, well, let's see if some of these managers and chefs that want to own a restaurant truly want to own a restaurant and come up with a plan to sell them to them. And knowing that most of them probably aren't bankable themselves. Yeah. So we've got something that's established. They've been a part of the team. They've helped us get it to a successful point, pay off the original investment that went into it. And now let's come up with a number that is good for both of us and owner finance it. Yeah. So we've done that 3 times. It's pretty cool.
It's got to feel good because you've given people, several of which that I've gotten to know, you've given them a chance to not just work at a restaurant, but to own a restaurant. Yeah. And if they want to expand from there, they can. But you've helped them do that with the owner financing and all the training and everything you gave them. So it's wonderful. We love to go to Pappy's. That's the closest. Well, that's the second closest. Lazy Goat's closest to me, but we go to Pappy's a lot. And love George.
And that whole story is just a great, the American dream story.
Tell the story. This is Pappy's in the whole family, right?
Yeah. So we call him Pappy because they're both Jorge, George, him and his son. Yeah. And Pappy Sr. came to work for us on day one at Sobeys. So
whoa, I did not know that.
November of '97, he was one of our first employees, was there opening night. Started out as a porter, washing dishes, learned a couple more skills, started making the biscuits. Sobeys biscuits are kind of famous. We tried to take them away one time when we had a bakery, and people screamed, and we brought them back. Poppy took over that. Then he became a kitchen manager, great prep cook, managed the day-to-day daily kitchen at Lazy Goat. But every Saturday, when he was at Sobeys, every Saturday, one of the different cooks or chefs would make a family meal. And every time I'd walk through the kitchen, if Poppy made it, they always said, you got to go try Poppy's food. He made enchiladas today. He made tacos. And it was family recipes and called it Mexican street food. And so I used to look at him when I walked by. I was like, Poppy, this is good. You and me one day. Poppy's tacos. Yeah. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. And his son came to work for us in his teens. And so, they're still working together. We finally opened Poppy's Tacos. Yeah. And we said, we're not going to turn this over and just give it to you without it being able to sustain. Yeah. You keep working with us and keep earning your salary. Yeah. And when it gets to be the right time, we'll do that. And so we did. It got to be the right time. We felt like the sales were going in the right direction. Yeah. He was understanding it. So, the family runs it now. They're looking at opening their second store. Yeah. It's just a great story.
Wonderful story, and the nicest people. That's great. So they were there on opening night. That's cool. So let me ask you this. I think that's great what you're doing, obviously, giving people those chances. And the funny thing about you, Carl, is, as you're giving people these chances and, getting these things off your balance sheet and, you're opening new restaurants. Yeah. I mean, are you trying to just kind of stay even, or what are you doing here?
Well, the good news is with the last 3 that we've opened, I've only done them because I had somebody internally that had watched this process and wanted the same process. Okay. So they'll come in 10, 15, 20%. Yeah. Some buy-in, some sweat equity. Yeah. And then we'll kind of go through the same process.
So you have a process now.
Yeah, I've told everybody I don't want to do another restaurant without one of you,
Okay.
in the room at the table that.
Well, I want to drill down on something a little bit different. I mean, during, we'll call it the pandemic or COVID or whatever it was, I mean, I have never seen leadership like I did from you. I mean, I don't know how you knew how to do all that stuff. I mean, my business was selling software, right? We were selling to warehouses. We were fine. We had to work from home. That was about it. I mean, you had the government come out and say, don't open and don't go there. And yet you were the one out there sending a daily email, sharing with people what the heck was going on. And some of that had to just be your opinion, which is kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
It's, when like you said, when the government said you have to close tomorrow or whatever, I mean, we had 400 employees.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of people freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I just knew that for whatever reason, I wasn't freaking out.
Right.
I had in 08 and 09, I was stressed and didn't know how we were going to get through it. 9/11, didn't know if people would ever fly again, and if people would come into the restaurants and whatnot. So we'd been through a couple of crises and learned our way a little bit. And for whatever reason, this one just felt like, wait a minute, this isn't just something happening in Greenville in South Carolina. This is global. So there's a lot of smart people out there. They're going to figure this out. It might be a little bit of pain, but I'm just going to communicate and talk to the team and let them know that, there are some resources to help out. 3 or 4 of us would sit in the front of the Sobeys building during the day and invite team members in. Like, hey, if you're having trouble paying the utility bill or paying this bill or don't know what to do, just come see us. We'll help you with the unemployment filings. We'll help you try to get some car payments deferred till the end. And so we were just able to help folks with that. The emails that you refer to, they just started out really being internal, and then a couple folks on the team said, you really should just share that. So our team just kind of sent them out and shared them with our database, people that were like to hear from us occasionally about special events and whatnot. Well, obviously this was more than a special event, and people had a lot of time, so I guess they read them. But it was, if I sat down tomorrow to try to write one of those, it wouldn't flow. During that period of time, it was very divine.
Yeah,
it
was.
I just woke up in the morning and I just felt inspired, and the words just kind of flew.
It showed true leadership, because it would have been easy to duck the conversation, right? I mean, because everyone was ducking it.
Yeah.
And so, and then also to say some things that just were your opinion about what might happen, what might not happen. I mean, put yourself out there, and all your friends and customers really appreciate it.
It was good. I feel like it was the right thing to do. I've never really been one to shy away. I don't put political beliefs and stuff on the front door, but I'm also not afraid, and we don't need to go down all the way down this road. But when we wanted to have a glass of wine or a Bloody Mary on Sundays and we weren't allowed to, most of the industry was afraid to go out in front. And I said, well, it's never going to get changed unless somebody does. And if a few people don't want to come into the restaurant because I felt it was the right thing to do, then so be it. So, I was the guy going door to door trying to get people to say, we should be able to have a drink on Sunday.
I know, and certainly we should. We absolutely should, and we do now. Thank goodness, and we can do it on the sidewalk too.
That's right.
Right, thanks to you. Well, again, thanks for all you do for Greenville. It's much appreciated, and you're still doing it. That's the wonderful thing. Appreciate that. My only thing I did during the pandemic was I went to Southern Pressed a lot. I figured, that drinking all that juice had to be good for me.
It
didn't,
undeniable.
It didn't hurt. It's my favorite. Well, let's finish up with a couple more questions. The first one is, what's your favorite word?
Oh, goodness. I bet if you asked my children or my wife, they'd give you 3 different answers because I have a lot of them. But I think from what we're talking about, impact or impactful is one that I use a lot at work. And, I tell our team, if we're going to do something, it has to be impactful. And we're going to make a difference, and we're not going to just, like you said, we could have ducked and skirted the whole conversation and stuff, but you don't achieve success and you don't get places without taking on the challenges and the difficult topics. So, so for me, and I mentioned serving on United Way this year as chairman. Greenville is wonderful, and we all read the top 5s and the top 10s and the things that, the accolades that we get and all the people that want to come here. But truth be known, we're also on some top 5 lists that we should not be proud of, and we don't talk about those things. And so part of my job this year, or my goal, was to actually talk about some of those things and advocate. And the only way we're going to get better and be impactful is if we talk about them and then we come up with solutions together. So, and just quickly, I'll share that a lot of people don't know that Greenville County is one of the top 5 most difficult counties in the United States to rise out of poverty if you're born into poverty. That is unacceptable. All this wonderful downtown, the jobs that we create, the beauty, the condos, the river, the parks, it's all great, but not everybody is enjoying it or benefiting it. So we have affordable housing issues, we have poverty issues, we have racial equity issues, and we've got to address those. So you started out asking about my favorite word. I'd say impactful. That's what I want to be, and that's what I want to encourage my team members, to everything that they do to try to be impactful and make a positive difference.
That's a great word. Is it United Way? Is there anything else you want to promote while you're here?
United Way is one of many organizations that are, working to better our community. What I love about the new direction of the United Way is, for 20 plus years before I became a board member, I contributed, and I knew that they were doing a good job of dispersing funds and helping a number of different organizations. I would say that now, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and not just our United Way, but United Ways globally, have gotten a little more focused and gotten into a lane of what they want to promote and where they want to be impactful. And so what I think United Way has done a great job here in our community about focusing in on this issue of poverty, racial equity, economic mobility, and trying to move the needle there. So, what I would love to promote is that people continue to give to the United Way, and if you haven't given in a little while for whatever reason, to ask me or one of our team members at United Way to come out and talk to you a little bit about the goals and the mission, and see if we can get folks back on board giving, because it's going to make a difference, the work that the United Way is doing.
Is there any chance of getting any kind of disco ball back at one of your places?
I think so. I mean, why not?
I think we should do it.
I think, we got the Avenue, beautiful spot up on the top floor of the Irwin Penland building.
We should have a pop-up disco, where just have an email list and send it out, give them like 24 hours notice.
Yeah, maybe we could get that done at the well. We could just bring everybody into the well and drop a big couple disco balls in there.
Yeah. Well,
but
Carl,
nothing better than Funky Friday, though.
It was great. This was great, too. I appreciate you coming out here. I know you're a busy guy with all you got going on, but thanks for coming, and hopefully some of our stories or your stories will help these folks as they navigate their careers. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Honored to be here.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right.